Good evening, class. Today I'm going to be doing my presentation on my chosen medical career, which is ultrasound. I'd like to start off with a story first. A couple of years back, a young lady walked into the ER presenting with severe pelvic pain and severe right shoulder pain. The doctors wasted no time ordering a blood panel and whisking her off to the radiology department to have an ultrasound. Because of the swift actions of the ER doctors and the diligence of the ultrasound technologists in the radiology department, they discovered the young lady was suffering from an ectopic pregnancy that was on the verge of rupturing. With this knowledge, they were able to act fast, ultimately and sadly dissolving the pregnancy, but preventing the patient from having to have emergency surgery to remove the fallopian tube that the pregnancy was implanted in. This young lady was me. So to begin my presentation, I would just like to talk a little bit about the history of ultrasound. So sonography can be dated back all the way to the 1920s, and it was used as a form of physical therapy. Ian McDonald was the one who introduced diagnostic medical ultrasound, and that was in 1956. And he used an A-mode one-dimensional scanner to measure the parietal diameter of the fetal head. In 1958, 2 years later, McDonald would be the first to find a genital tumor on one of his female patients, which was an awesome achievement. And he can also be accredited for inventing the two-dimensional compound scanner. And in the 1970s came grayscale imaging, and which that also led to real-time ultrasound imaging. So now that we touched a little bit on the history of ultrasound, I'd like to talk about current trends in ultrasound and what's hot today in ultrasound. So we have 2D, 3D, and 4D imaging. So 3D and 4D is the latest craze in ultrasound, mainly used in obstetric sonography. So I'm just going to give you a little information on these three imaging techniques. So 2D is basically, that's going to be your standard ultrasound. So if you go in and get an abdominal ultrasound, it's going to be 2D at this point anyway. So the image will appear flat looking on the screen, and it'll just show the outlines of the organs. Just good for identifying pathology within the organs. And the 3D, which is three-dimensional, it pretty much speaks for itself. It gives you a 3D image of the fetus or a 3D image of an organ. So it shows external images and it's without motion. So this will be helpful in detecting cleft lip and palate in babies. And like I said, these are more popular with the obstetric ultrasound. And 4D is basically 3D imaging with real-time motion. So it would be like watching a movie while watching a 4D ultrasound. So at the beginning of my speech, I told you a bit about my personal experience with ultrasound and radiology. And I also spoke of the history of ultrasound. Radiology and ultrasound are a very integral part in the healthcare movement. And in my opinion, without them, we wouldn't have made all the strides in healthcare present today. That concludes my speech, and thank you for tuning in. And I definitely appreciate your feedback. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section. Thank you. Bye.